So welcome to my video on how I went about making my gable for my porch. So to begin with, looking at the picture of my house, you can see that my roof has two different angles. So the first thing I did was I found out the angles. For mine, I used the left side, and then I took that angle into a 3D modeler, Google SketchUp, and I began sketching up the gable to match the angle of the roof. So the first thing I did was I drew the 6x6 post, nothing special there. And then I started adding the angle. I think for me it was about 17 degrees. And I'm just starting to sketch up a a mock-up of how my gable is going to be. And using the 3D modeler is really nice because it takes out all the guesswork of all the angles for like the smaller 4x4s, and I'll have those ready to go. And then having those all those dimensions done, I can take those and start adding those to I guess template pieces. Right here I'm using 2x4s, just cheap pine 2x4s, and starting to fabricate the gable that I designed in Google SketchUp. And I could have a visual representation of how everything fits. So right now I'm creating the gable with these 2x4s. So then with the mock-up or template pieces done, I'm starting to transfer those over to the nice wood I got. And since I know those fit with the template pieces, as long as I cut the lines, the the nice wood I'm using for my actual gable, the cedar wood, will work because they should be the same cuts, and this way it takes out a lot of the guesswork and mistake work. I would rather make a mistake with the pine 2x4s instead of the cedar tone wood. So yeah, right now me and Morgan are starting to make the cuts on the 4x4s. If you see all the scrap wood there, I just added about 200 foot of fence around my property. That was incredibly hard. I used over 4,000 screws. But right now I'm beginning to just cut out the 2x4s of the cedar tone wood. And the little notches, you can see Morgan on the bottom right. She's just using a jigsaw to cut out the little bit of notches. And right now I'm beginning to do the actual post. This is 6x6s, and I'm using a 12-inch miter saw. And the difficulty with this is it couldn't cut all the way through the 6x6, so I had to actually flip it and try to line it up as best I can. And later in the film, you'll see that I use a multi-tool with a small wood blade to try to trim up all the excess pieces, or the where it's not perfectly flat, so I can get nice tight joints. You'll see that a little bit later in the video. But yeah, right now I'm just beginning to cut the 6x6s to make sure that they're 8 foot exact. And this one I'm notching or mitering the 45s because I don't want any butt ends on this. I want all 45s where the 6x6 meet. So starting off at the front of the house, I'm beginning to bring out those 6x6s and starting to like put them in their spot. They're kind of heavy, to be honest. But yeah, I'm measuring out to make sure they're in the right spots. So me and Morgan right now are adding I'm using 14 gauge right angle brackets, and right now I'm hammer drilling the holes for the Tapcon screws in. And yep, right now we're going back and adding the Tapcon screws. It takes 3 per side, so I ended up using 12 per each post to make sure it's really nice and tight to the cement slab. And I mean, it's sturdy as a rock, especially with those 14 gauge steel right brackets. And yeah, right now we're just talking to the neighbor. Great guy. So I just put up the 8 foot 6x6 with the 45-degree cuts. And I'm just making sure it's perfect. And I'm using hidden 45-degree angle screws or screw holes to put screws in at a 45-degree angle, just so you don't see any screws. And quickly, you saw me and Morgan put up blue painter's tape. We're just mocking up so I can cut out the siding where I'm going to be placing the wood. And yep, right now I'm putting up a 6x6 that has a mitered cut, so comes up to a 45 with the 8 foot piece. And again, the same with this. I'm using 45-degree angles to put in, or 45, I'm screwing in 45-degree holes to put in 3-inch construction screws in hidden spots, just so you don't see any screw holes. And now the 2x4s that we already cut prior to starting this because we had the template, we're just starting to place those up. And again, the same thing with those. I drilled in 45-degree angle holes and I'm putting in 3-inch construction screws another day. Just again, we're going to begin off. Well, here we're going to begin off actually putting up the gable. And to create the notches, I used a 6-inch jigsaw blade because I tried to do it with a multi-tool and then I just ruined it. It needed to be really precise for nice tight joints. So right now you see me, I'm using a 6-inch blade on my jigsaw tool to create the nice notch where it sits on top of the 6x6. And again, same thing with this. I'm pre-drilling 45-degree holes and using those same 3-inch construction screws all around. Yeah, so Morgan's just giving me a hand. We're cutting everything to make sure they're super nice and tight. Right there you see me just pre-drilling the holes for the screws. And since we did the template and we designed it in a 3D modeling program, everything fits really nicely and we just there's like really almost no gaps anywhere. And I just pre-drilled the holes. Now I'm starting to screw in from the top of the 4x4 just so again we're not seeing any screws anywhere. Right now we're just placing up the 2x4s and these are 16-inch on center. And for the 4x4, I couldn't, just the way the angle was, I couldn't do a single 4x4 across. It would have made the peak of the roof look really funky. So I'm doing what's called bridging the 2x4s, where I'm just using a section of 4x4 between each 2x4. So for the actual roof piece, instead of doing like particle board in that, I'm using 1x4 of select pine and I'm just starting to I'm screwing them into the 2x4s. And the reason I wanted the select pine because it's not going to be finished below, and I wanted to make sure it looked really nice. Particle board in that wouldn't have, it had to have been hidden some way. And the select pine, it was just really knotty. It had a lot of knots in it, and it just really looked beautiful. So right now I'm on top of the roof, just screwing in the last of the 1x4s. And right now I'm just cutting down to size the roof, the shingle underlayment. And right now I'm starting to put in the drip edge for the drip edge for the roof. And this is underneath the roof underlayment. I don't know if you could tell or not. It may look that it's on top, but it's actually underneath the roof underlayment paper. So right now I'm just adding the drip edge to the roof, the peak, the gable, or whatever you want to call it. And I'm just using inch and a quarter or whatever roofing nails. So I'm nailing down the shingles and I'm just sending or giving Morgan my cuts, the size I need cut, and she's just handing them to me. I haven't done roofing in a while. It was fun. So right now, Morgan's just cleaning it off to begin the tile work. So for the tile of this porch, I'm using a slate tile, a natural tile. It's not flat in any means. It it's always different. All the thicknesses are different. It has pieces missing off the middle of the tile, and it just looks so organic and natural. I really liked it, and that's why I wanted to use it for this porch. So right now I'm just miter cutting the edge right there, the step. Again, I'm miter cutting. I don't want a butt end where you can see it. So I'm just making the test fit, making sure that the pieces fit really nicely. And I'm just cutting them all at once, and then just so I can begin thin setting them in. Yep. Yeah, so I'm doing it, and I'm using a I believe for this we use a 3/16, no, an 1/8 inch spacing, and I'm I'm applying the thin set to the cement slab, but I'm also back buttering each individual slate tile just to make sure there's a thin, even coating of thin set mortar on each and every tile. So I skipped ahead for the tile. Right now I redid the electrical for the light that was previously there, and I'm writing or running it to the top of the peak. And it may look like it's not centered, but it is centered on the 4x4s. And I took regular steel conduit and just painted it black. And I'm just screwing it into the gable. And for this one, we had a big circle halo light that we got at Costco a couple years because this has been planned for a couple years now. Like right when I moved into the house, I knew I wanted to do a porch cover, and I'm just installing it or screwing it into the roof. It's a hanging chandelier type porch light, and it has eight big Edison style light bulbs, you know, the LED light bulbs that give that old, like warm yellowish light. You'll see later on in the video what I'm talking about, but it just looks so beautiful and it fits really nicely, you know, the black steel with the wood gable. So Morgan's just giving me a hand um getting it to hook onto the top. It's actually really heavy because it's real, like it's all like steel and that. It's really nice light. I got it a couple years ago at Costco on sale because it was like they had a few remaining. It was like 40% off or something. And then we just loved it, so I got it. And I knew I was gonna place it in. So yeah, we got it hooked up and installed, all the electrical connected. Now we're just I beginning to start putting in the lights. It took a little bit to get it hooked on and get it right, but it got in there, and now we're gonna begin starting to add the lights. Oh look, it turns on, the house didn't catch on fire. Nice. Perfect. So one of the things is where the previous light was, it was one of those old, I don't know, old as hell type lights. And there's just a hole in the siding, so I could either patch that or whatever. But we don't really have any house numbers on here. So Morgan on a piece of oak board got those metal big numbers. I don't know what they're called. And she made just a little hanger thing for it. And I'm starting to cut out the siding so I can recess that in and attach it directly to the wall. and it looks really nice, and it goes with like the wood oak goes really well with the cedar wood, and trying to get a nice tight fit because all the joints everywhere, the tile to the wood, the numbers, the wood numbering thing to the siding. I want to go back around and clear silicone everything. So I'm just making sure it's a nice tight fit for the smallest silicone joint. And also right here, you can see where the porch stops and it goes to the landscaping. The reason I didn't do miter cuts on that is because I'm going to raise the mulch up anyways. Just there would have been no point in doing all that time for just I mean just because it's all going to be hidden by the mulch because the mulch is settled in a lot and I have to re-raise it to the height of the porch. So I just thought I was going to do that. And yeah. So you can quickly see that I put some of the siding back in, where we took it out. And right now I'm just beginning to do touch-up works wherever there's small holes in that of siding. I'm gonna fill those in with siding pieces. And I believe we didn't catch on film that, I already grouted the tile at this point. I think we ran out of memory card space or whatever. And I also, after the grout cured, I added, I believe, 3 layers of tile and grout sealer, as well as we sealed the wood twice with just a clear sealer. So here's a quick couple pictures of the finished product, and I'll go over some things, probably some questions I'm gonna get. Total price for everything was about 500 bucks. I didn't use real cedar wood. I only used
So
cedar
that
tone
really
wood.
the
Using the cedar tone wood really helps cut down the price. The cedar tone wood, it was a lot more uniform in color. That's why I chose to use it. Another question I'm probably gonna get a lot is I did add the base molding around the 6x6 post to cover up the brackets. I know you can see it in one of the pictures. And also throughout this video, you probably saw that below the door that there was some rot on the wood. It was never covered and it was a cement step there, so obviously wood got or water got trapped and it just sort of rotted away the wood. I did fix that. I don't have a clip of it showing you because I found it irrelevant for this video. This was more about the whole gable and porch roof covering. I just took I believe it was 1x6 or maybe I think it was a 1x8. I just cut out a new piece and we painted it with the same trim color since we are the ones that added the trim color. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it and yeah, check out some of my other house remodel videos.